Welcome back, third graders. Today, for our art history lesson, what I want to do is show you a part of our American history that deals with face jugs. And this interesting video kind of shows how people have uncovered art that's been buried in the earth for hundreds of years. Or even thousands of years. This one doesn't happen to be that old, but people that have found artwork buried in the earth and that can help tell more about our American history. So I'm going to show you little video clips and then I'll introduce you to what we're doing today.
October 1858, the American ship Wanderer set sail from Africa, carrying a secret illegal cargo, almost 500 African men, women, and children shackled in her belly. After 6 grueling weeks on the Atlantic, the Wanderer drops anchor off Georgia's notorious Jekyll Island. The slaves, riddled with disease and hunger, are sold and separated. Now, April Hines from Washington Crossing, Pennsylvania, has a ceramic jug that has been in her family for years, which she suspects may be connected to an African-American past.
I always wondered what secrets this curious jug might hold.
So this detective is going to go out. She's like a history detective. She's going to go out and try to discover through looking through records around that area where or who could have made the jug, because the jug does not have a signature on it. And there's no way of finding out where it could have been because things kind of get moved around in the earth exactly where it could have come from. So anyway, she goes through and enlists some people to help out. And here's the rest of the story.
The jug's design and features are so striking. I want to enlist the help of my fellow detective, Takufu Zuberi.
Hey, Glenn, how you doing?
Takufu's made many trips to the African continent in search of links to modern African-American culture. I'm hoping he knows a potter who can explain how this was made.
Face jugs, all right. Yeah, I'll see who I can find that knows about this.
Thanks a lot.
This is my first encounter with a face jug, but the prominent design and the grimace remind me of sculpture I've seen in different parts of Africa. I've tracked down Jim McDowell, one of the few potters around who makes face jugs using 19th century techniques. These are the pictures of the jug that I told you about.
But these are very rare.
Can we talk about it?
We can go make some. Come on.
All right. Jim comes from a long line of potters who began making ceramics as slaves in 18th century Jamaica. He says the process of making face jugs, or ugly jugs as he calls them, has changed very little.
This is the wheel that would have been used back in the 1800s.
The first step is to throw the pot, which provides a base for the face.
The guy would sit down here at this wheel, he'd make 30 jugs in a day.
Jim explains how African-American potters divided their labors.
The face jugs were usually made at the end of the day, when all the work was done. All right, this jug's finished. It's ready now to go and put a face on.
All right, let's do it.
This piece was made a day or so ago, so it's dry. And we always start off with the nose. When you attach 2 pieces of clay, you have to score and slip it, because otherwise they won't attach. So put on the nostril there, and then I blend it in. Your turn.
My turn. Okay. Let's see. So I draw my eyeball and I score it.
Score it. Put some slip on it.
Now, it's my understanding that these jugs were used to carry water.
Some of them may have been, but from my perspective, they were used as grave markers. The slave potter would have made the jug and given it to a person while they were living, and they would put molasses or beans or whatever they had. When they died, because slaves were not allowed to have a grave marker, this jug was placed on their grave site.
Jim believes that this tradition was a synthesis of Christianity and indigenous African beliefs, but he's not sure where in Africa the tradition originated.
Now that jug is basically finished.
The jug is then left to dry for several days before being dipped into a vat of glaze. Then, after baking in a wood-burning kiln, the face jug is complete. It's beautiful. Ugly.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Why are these face jugs so ugly?
They thought if it was ugly enough, it would scare the devil away from your grave so your soul could go to heaven.
Okay, look, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, too.
So thinking about the last video that we saw, these African American face jugs, or sometimes known as ugly jugs, just as a review, were made by African American slaves usually, and they were given to someone to hold something in, like molasses, he was saying, or water. And they were used during that person's lifetime. And then when that person passed away, because slaves were not allowed to have grave markers at their sites, they were used as grave markers. Um, Going back to more African roots, some people believe that if you had these placed at your door, then it would scare away the evil spirits. And so that's where the connection with using it in real life and then using it after death was also used for. So they were purposely meant to be scary or, ugly in this case, which is kind of funny. And there's not very many of them left, actually, because a lot of them were buried, of course, with people. And then as farming occurred, and these ugly jugs would get moved into the ground deeper, or then as buildings are built, then of course they get buried. But there still are some precious ones that are still around, and they record a lot of our history. So again, these were made then after the day's work was done, and it was kind of like extra to be able to do that on the wheel. But 30 pots a day, that's a lot of pots. There wasn't electricity to be used back then. I mean, there was electricity, but not necessarily used to for these slaves. And so the fact that they were using a kick wheel, so they had to use their legs to power the wheel, and then their arms to center it. That's a lot of extra work. So based on these ideas of using a pot and then building an animal or a creature or a face on there, that's what we're going to do today. So as a review, I want you to think about what is earthenware clay, because that's the clay that we use in the class. Why does it matter? It matters a lot for safety. So clay is the smallest rock that we can find on Earth. And once that rock goes airborne, it gets, kicked up in the air after it's been dried. It's not great to breathe in. And so we really want to make sure that we take care of things in class and at your house. So if you're using this at your home, you want to make sure that you clean off your work areas really well, because you don't want that clay kicked up or for you to breathe it into your lungs. But it is the smallest rock that we can find on Earth, and it comes from Earth. It's made by the Earth. It's not made by humans, which is so cool. So what you're going to be doing is making a pinch pot today to start off with. I want you to think about a nice even thickness all the way around. This is actually quite a thin for a pot that we're going to be using to make a face on. So I would try to keep your pot a little bit thicker, like this one or this one. And then I want you to think about what you can use to make your pot be a kind of a mouth. You're going to put that pot on its side and create a mouth. So you can bend, obviously the pots I just showed you were very round, but maybe you don't want the mouth to be round. Maybe you want to bend it into more of an oval or something. These are more like monster mouth, or I call them creature mouths. And they're fun and whimsical. Or some students like to make animal mouths too, and that's fine as well. The only thing I would say, and this is one of the reasons why I have this really cool one on here with the crabs, the only thing I would say is that this is a short, skinny attachment, which probably will make it in the kiln and make it being shipped back to the classroom. But anything that's longer than this probably will break off, and having something thicker is a better thing to have, is a better attachment. So I know you can build so many awesome things out of clay and keep on going and going, but the question is it going to last or not? So that's something I want you to think about. So again, you want to think smaller if you're going to go skinnier like that, and nothing too terribly long, because it has to be able to make it back to the classroom, in the kiln, and then back home. But these are some great examples. So have fun creating, friends. Watch the demonstrations for how to go ahead and make one of these animal, creature, or monster mouths, however you want to do it. And thanks for watching a little bit about our history and art. Bye.